was nothing left for me in the city. So, I have traveled back to where I grew up. Here, I found my childhood home in ruins. Why hasn't my aunt taken good care of it? The bridge to her house is broken, so I can't even ask her. I will make the tree stump a cozy home again, no matter what it takes, and no matter how hard it gets. I will fight and find meaning and beauty out here. Some will say that in the dead of winter, a small city mouse doesn't stand a chance. Maybe so, but I must keep believing that every winter leads to spring. Auntie, finally! No!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the afternoon sections of IndieX 2024. To kick off the afternoon, we have a pretty nice looking game, a very cozy game, but also a survival game, and it's called Winter Burrow. Today, we are going to be talking actually with one of the devs who I would very much like to introduce. So, please, everyone, welcome Benjamin to the stream. How are you doing, Benjamin?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Hello.
We're very glad to have you here because we don't always have this access to the devs and nonetheless to the actual director and or person who was involved in creative direction and writing of the game. So I have some questions that I'm looking forward to ask you about the game. But to kind of kick off things, I think it would be nice if you could give your version or your pitch of what Winterborough is and what we will be looking at today.
Yeah, of course. Like Winterborough is a cozy woodland survival game where you play as a small mouse who returns to their childhood home, but they found it broken down and neglected. So one of your main goals is to restore it to its former glory. Your aunt was also supposed to take care of it, but she's gone and there's no trace of her. So you also need to figure out what happened to Auntie. And you do all this by exploring a frozen wilderness where you find resources and bring them back home to craft useful items. You meet with the locals who help you with survival tips, and knit warm sweaters, bake pies, and go out and make it a bit further the next time, a bit more prepared for the wilderness.
Yes, and I think it's very aptly themed now as the weather gets colder, and
Yeah.
we're gonna have to face some quite chilly conditions. But yeah, I think that was a great pitch. Actually, I think it really summed up stuff about what we are going to look at today. And
Yeah.
so I think we should just go ahead and actually let the game speak for itself. I do know we have a very nice intro also that gives us a little bit of context to the game. So without further ado, let's get with it. So I really liked the first time I picked up the game because we can really see like there's this effort to showcase like not just beautiful art, but kind of also this emotion in the art. So like here it says a place where everybody could stay warm and safe. And as I looked at the images and I read the text, I really got this feeling of not just being told, okay, this is the world, this is what happened, this is where you're going, but like I felt this emotion. So kind of unconsciously, I was already creating this connection with the character, and I'm really interested in knowing the if who was responsible for this art. If it was, for example, a combined effort between your creative direction and someone else on the team. What were you thinking when you were building this beautiful intro? Because I think it really was a really good match between the text itself and actually the emotion so shown on screen. It was really well done.
Yeah, there was a lot of people involved in this process. So some of it was done by my former business partner called Jorge. He did some of the basic kind of like uh, ideas for which images we should have, and the intro story was written by him, and I think also based on some stories I had been writing. But it was right at the moment where I got my third child, so it was kind of like a special time where I was kind of like semi on online. And then we had it was the artwork is done by an artist called Donata, and she was it was a freelance job where we hired her to do these I think it's 9 images. So yeah, it's a lot of people's ideas. I think there's even more people who have been adding to the story and to the details and to making this kind of like intro seem nice. And then we had longer texts for each image, but it just felt as too much. So we at some point we just boiled it down to kind of like just being more on point. So you also have time to look at the images, and usually like intros is also something where you need to find a good balance where you tell a story but don't spend too much time because everybody wants to get into the game and play. So yeah,
Absolutely. I think there was you hit the right point of like letting the images kind of show a little bit more for people who actually want to look at it. So like for example, here in this image, we can kind of see that there's this already this kind of notion of hierarchy, right? And different kinds of people in the game society. So it's not just going to be something very basic, but you don't need to talk about it, right? If people want to
yeah,
know it, they can just search for it. And if someone
yeah,
else is just interested in, okay, yeah, they had a hard time and they had hard jobs, let's move on. I think it
yeah.
really pleases both kinds of players. So I think you did a really good job with it.
Thank you. We actually did a lot of writing lore and backstory, and at some point we had to stop ourselves and just look at each other and say, okay, we cannot spend more time on this because we actually have to make the game.
The
But it's
game.
just it was so much fun to create this world where we imagined how would it be if mice became intelligent and had a society. How would it look like? Where would they live? So we spent a lot of time on that, and was thinking how would they interact with other woodland creatures, like how is their relationship to the squirrels and to moles and to hedgehogs and stuff like that. So we built a big world, and then we took just a little slice of that, and this is the world of Winterboro is a very small slice of a very big world. So you get a sense of it here in the intro, but you hear about it when you play the game. But the game is more very situated in this more secluded area where there's no big cities and no other like factions or everything. There's just these people living out here on their own, each having their own
Amazing.
stories about why they're here.
Very much. And I mean, this kind of lore and world building kind of, yeah, of course it's important as you say, right? You cannot go overboard, but I think it really it goes far into like um, giving the player also an idea of the theme. So, for example, when I actually looked at the intro, and I looked at it and I saw like the tragicness of the history of their parents and the mouse making the decision of coming back home, I got a feeling that maybe this story is going to be a bit about like what home means, at least that's my interpretation. Like, what should we sacrifice actually in terms of where do we want to live, what do we want to do, right? But could you maybe go a bit into the themes of the game? Of course, I know it's still in development, so you don't want to spoil anything about the story. But if you could maybe do like a very brief talk about what actually you want to transmit with this game in terms of its story.
Yeah, it's definitely a part of the theme is of course based on the backstory of the mouse having their parents recently pass away, and they have to process the loss. And it's actually kind of like the process of rebuilding the burrow is also the processing of rebuilding themselves, as now they are a grown mouse on their own. And yes, it's also a theme about the safety of home and the contrast between safety and danger. Like we have this core loop where the player has to go outside, get some resources, and when you go outside, you get a lot of nice stuff, but it's also harsh and dangerous. You can freeze to death, and you can meet hostile little insects and stuff like that. And then we have the safe home, um, and that's something that we also have in real life, that sometimes you have to leave your safe nest to progress and to even though it can be scary.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes there's quite this idea, there's like some fictional works, a lot of fictional works actually, that use this kind of, let's say, mouse society or animal society as kind of a way to exploit human society concepts, but without actually, let's say, showcasing humans themselves, right?
Yeah.
Was there any particular reason why you decided to go in this direction for Winterborough?
Yeah, I think the choice of mice or woodland creatures was based more because of a fascination with nature and just I always imagine how small creatures, how their daily lives look like. Um, so it wasn't a choice made to be able to talk about human society in a different way. It was more the other way around, that it was interesting when starting to thinking about these anthropomorphic woodland creatures, then thinking, okay, they might have their own society. So I made a conscious choice, for example, not to have any signs of humans in the world. You cannot find anything like human items. I wanted it to be a world that was theirs, wherever we are. I don't know if we are on a different planet or just a closed off area on Earth where they live, but there hasn't been any humans here.
Let's see what else we can do. We've already started. Ah, okay. Now we can kind of get into one of the nice things I really liked, which I was not expecting actually. So, like,
Hmm.
when usually these craft games, when you're making your own armor or making your own weapons, stuff like that, it's always this kind of mechanical process that you just go up to like a working bench, let's say, and then it's just like tu ta ta ta. I have done it, and here you actually never think that. Yeah, actually, you would need to know how to knit, and so the image of this mouse knitting, like, really made me feel even cozier because we zoom in and we have this fireplace and the guy is just knitting, and like, of course, it's important for his survival,
Yeah.
but it really made me like think about it, think about like what skills you need to survive and how important something a skill can be that you have never thought about. I really liked that. Did you have any intentionality when you were designing this kind of menu where you can see him prepare his knitting stuff, or
Yeah, we really wanted to showcase this element of relaxing in front of the fire to have this contrast to the harsh outside. But in a gameplay situation, it's not fun just to sit and look at the fire for not for long at least. So we added it into the crafting system to say, okay, then the knitting chair, the armchair, it will make sense that it's in front of the fire, because if you were knitting, it would take a lot of time. So the mouse placed it there to sit and have a cozy moment. So yeah, we really want to have more of that kind of showcasing the coziness, and try to get the contrast. If we can have a window in the background where we see that it's snowing outside, then it would be even better. Because as you know, when you toggle up or cuddle up underneath a blanket, if it's warm and sunny outside, it's not as cozy as when it's rainy or snowy. So that's why we really like the contrast, because it enhances the feeling of coziness. If everything in the world was super cozy, then the home would just be another cozy place. But now we have the contrast with the hostile and kind of like still beautiful, but hostile outside, and then it enhances the feeling of coziness when you finally reach home again. You can
I
see
can
you're
shoot from the
freezing
back.
because
Yeah.
it's, yeah. So it gets colder at night, very cold. So
Let's check out. Regarding the art style, the choices for the art style, was it more like something the artists had previously done before, or did you have to choose? Did you want to choose something that specifically looked like this when you were making
yeah,
the
we
design decision?
we we wanted to have something that reminded us of adventure books and books about like, if you know the book called The Wind in the Willows, but generally just fairy tales and adventure books have this storybook feel to it. So that's why we ended up with this art style. In the beginning we tried out a bit of different hand drawn styles, but ended up with this one.
It looks very nice.
In the beginning, actually, it was inspired by I was playing a lot of survival games. One of them was 7 Days to Die, which is a zombie survival game, and a lot of people will probably be surprised that Winter Brew is inspired by that. But I was playing it and imagining, oh, if this game was with woodland creatures, it would be fun. Then the moles were good at digging, and the squirrels could crawl in the trees. But then
Different classes.
yeah, exactly, with different abilities. But I pretty quickly realized this is too big a project for me to be running. So I imagine, okay, I'll do it 2D, and I'll probably isometric is good because I wanted to build a big game world to explore. And yeah, then it just kind of like moved on by itself after that. Of course, when you have a survival game in hand-drawn isometric style, you also look at games like Don't Starve and stuff like that.
So when you were making the design decisions, for example, as we are now freezing here, right?
Yeah,
You already said you want contrast. You want kind of this brutal, not brutal, but let's say harsh reality from
harsh.
nature, mixed with a wholesome. Did you come into any challenges when you were thinking about this, or had you already, for example, done it before in another project where you had to balance these two highly contrasting elements from design, or was it something that actually came naturally to you?
Yeah, we hadn't tried it before, but I felt it came natural. But we still did a lot of balancing to how harsh the outside should be. Should you see other dead animals outside? Should there be like how harsh should the woodland, like we have this wildlife, like insect wildlife, how harsh should they be? And some of it was also gameplay decisions. How should can you hit the insects? How will there be any kind of combat? How will combat be? So we had a lot of like balancing back and forth where it moved in some periods more into the combat elements, but it just felt off in regards to the more like woodland cozy setting. But then we removed the hostile insects for a while, but it felt empty. Like then it didn't feel living, and so in the end we tried a few things and tried to play the game and see how it felt, and try to have other people play it, and then based on that we kind of like find a good place here where there's a little of both.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we just try to make sure that it's up to the player if they want to engage with anything dangerous. Like you can always hide from the hostile insects, or you can run away from them. They won't chase you forever. Yeah, and when you die, you don't lose everything. You don't lose progress. You can almost catch up from where you left. You'll drop your items on the ground, and you have to go back to pick them up. That's the only kind of like
Still
punishment
fair.
of dying. Yeah, so it shouldn't be something you want to like. You shouldn't. You should be sad when you die, but it shouldn't be kind of like
Extremely punishing.
yeah, exactly.
So right now we're basically just trying to get better at surviving by knitting some nice warm clothes and trying to
Yeah.
find our aunt.
Yeah.
Will we in the game go farther away from the burrow, or is it more like, okay, we are always going just a little bit outside, we're going to be coming back, we're going to build the burrow back up, or is there like some possibility of, for example, sleeping outside somewhere else, or will the burrow always be your home base for the game?
Yeah, a lot of good questions, but the world is bigger, so there's more areas that you can explore. Once you are through the beginning of the game will open up a bit more and be more free to the player to choose what they want to do. You will always return to the burrow. That's where you can upgrade and craft things. So it's so in the game that's a place you always will return to. Also because it's kind of like one of the main goals is to restore it. there's right now there's fireplaces outside in the world that you can light, or campfires, so we can stay there. But we don't have sleeping outside. It's something that we have been dreaming of having, but it maybe will come later at some point. It would definitely be nice and fit into kind of like this woodland survival theme to be able to put up a tent and sleep out there. But for now, you can stay warm for outside, but need to return home to sleep and to craft.
Let's see if we can. I think we can actually now take care of. Nice.
Yeah.
Preparing the stove because we need to eat something. And we
Yeah.
do have quite some nice stuff at the moment. So let's look. Roasted mushroom. Okay. So we can make some roasted mushroom actually. So let's. Nice. And then we can make some nice mushrooms too. Great. Now. Chup, chup. And let's see how much. Okay, that's quite good actually. So we don't want to really need to be looking out for food. That's actually something I also enjoy. That even though it is good to always be on the move and always go and always be paying attention, it's not like it's this extremely punishing thing. So you can still take your time and kind of enjoy.
It's not a game that is meant to be played for many hours. Like we are aiming for 10 to 15 hours probably for the core game, and then will be difficult to say how many hours you can actually play with if you want to unlock everything. We'll have to see. But so we want hunger to be there, but it's not an issue in the beginning. It will be a bigger issue when you are traveling further away and want to eat. And so in the beginning it's mostly warmth, but then when you need the warm clothes, that's kind of like becomes a lesser issue. But then there's other stuff you want to improve, like you have a small backpack right now, so at some point you probably want to make a bigger backpack, so when you're out on longer trips you also have room for all the nice stuff you find.
We already have our first meeting here with a nice peddler.
Yeah.
What he has to offer. It seems like he was already around here, so he comes around and he's kind of surprised that someone's actually in the burrow and doing something. So
yeah,
this is one of the things that helps, I guess, if you did the world building before, that you can kind of place these different people with different habits and different histories in these places, and then they're more than just an NPC. They can give you some nice information about the world. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
Let's see what he. Okay, so what can we do?
Yeah, there's different things you can both sell and buy. It's also a way for, if there's a creature that is difficult to defeat, you can buy the resource instead and do something else that you prefer to do instead to and then sell that stuff to buy it. So it's also a way to give some control to the player.
Oh, nice. And you make it so the coldness doesn't go up when you're in the menu. That's really good.
Yeah,
That's
should have time,
some way
because
that you're not punishing anyone.
Yeah, especially when it's when you're talking to NPCs, you want to have time to read it if you want.
So it seems to need some wood and some yarn, and I'm guessing Auntie is on the other side. So let's kind of go back to the axe and get to chopping. So I know actually the game has been in development for a bit more, but I think you started actually like development, like heavy development this year. Can you tell us a bit about how it's been like challenging for you or rewarding for you and the team to actually see the project move forward and build the demo for the first time? So actually making your, let's say, vision come true for the first time.
Yeah, it was a long process. Here in Denmark, we were very lucky to have public funding. So one of the first things I did was to apply for some development funding from them. and that gave me the money to hire somebody to help me, because I'm not a programmer, so I could hire somebody to help building a demo. The first demo looked very, very rough, so it was just to get an idea of the core gameplay. And then way later on, we added the current visuals. So it's been a long process where it was small iterations, also realizing that even though we thought it was a small game, it was actually quite a big game when you start working on it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, with all the balancing, we did a lot of kind of like adding stuff, removing stuff, did a lot of world building. Had to, like, in between we could get public funding, we had to work on other projects. So we also had periods where we were not working on it at all. And in some sense, it's also good, because then you put it away and then you get back to it and can look at it with different eyes. So I think we started 5 years ago, and then I think the last 2 or 3 years has been more intense, and most of the people who are working on it now have been hired in the beginning of this year. We were very close to having to close down the studio before we finally landed a publishing deal. So
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
The industry is not, let's say, in the best situation at the moment in terms of acquiring funding. So I'm glad to hear that you were actually able to successfully proceed with the project.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm
We were also
just going to probably try and exit to the main menu, because I believe there's a bug where I cannot move the menu with the arrow keys, or at least
yeah.
I cannot seem to do it.
It can.
So let's
It
see
happens
if I can-
sometimes.
I can somehow. Oh, I found out there's a dash button. That's. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, it's still a little buggy sometimes, but that one I have seen it before. It is usually happens because some menus load in a different order or something.
Mhm.
Somebody tried to explain it to me.
Okay, then I'll just quickly restart the game, and then we can join again. So let me just check.
Yeah.
Starting. Nice. So you said already that you have this kind of focus on Denmark, so you're kind of based on Denmark, but you're actually have quite like let's say international team. Have
Yeah.
you always worked like this, or are you more like? Is it the first time you work so much remote? How has it been? How has you dealt with this experience on your side?
Yeah, it's the first time I have a studio that is fully remote. And yeah, in the beginning there was a lot to learn, and I was still kind of like, I still preferred for some things to meet up in person. But the more you work in this way, the more you find the right tools for replacing some of the things you were used to doing. So something is also just about that you need to change your habits. Yeah, so I think the good thing is that a lot of the decisions and thoughts are stored digitally, so you always have access to things that you have been mapping out. So we use Miro a lot to get an overview, like it's our whiteboard. And I remember taking a lot of photos of whiteboards with a lot of ideas, and they never made it out of the camera roll. So yeah, it's I'm happy working fully remote, and it makes it possible for me to also find people that has different backgrounds and different stories, and fits the project more perfectly. So that's also an advantage, because Denmark is a small country. So
Yeah, you can find like more talent that fits the project better,
yeah,
culture wise with the team that they fit in. It's just yeah, I guess it's quite advantageous actually for development teams that are small and need this access to like greater talent pools.
yeah.
So
So we
when you
yeah.
were building this demo, I know it was like a rush to actually build it and successfully push it out. Did you have any feedback from people outside of the team when you were working on it, or were you mostly focused on let's try and push our vision first, push it out there, and then we get the feedback from everyone else, and we see where we can improve or what people think about it? How was the process actually?
Yeah, so the process in the beginning was very much just us trying to build something that we felt worked well. So I think mostly trying the game on people around us, like friends and family, testing the game and giving feedback. So it was first, I can't remember, mostly kind of like the first kind of like outside objective feedback we got was when we started pitching it to publishers. Actually, that's a good way to get very so rough feedback, because they'll tell you what they think and they have a lot of experience. So that's actually kind of like a valuable thing that nobody really talks about. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so we hadn't done any big focus group testing or anything before we launched the demo for the first time, but we made sure to test it on people we knew, and yeah, a bit further out than that, but not much.
Seems like we're almost back to where we were. Now, as in, of course, as like in any survival game, once the player actually knows what he's doing, everything moves much faster.
Yeah,
Instead of
yeah,
just
exactly.
walking around and being like, "Ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? What's that?" Of course, that's also great fun and part of the design process itself, which is
Yeah.
actually something I wanted to also ask you about, which is what are some of the ways you want to reward player exploration, and yeah, what role do you think this plays in this game? Does it play a bigger role, for example, compared to survival? Is it more like an exploration game, a survival game, or is it?
Yeah, I think definitely more exploration game. It's at least a very important part of it. Like, I think the survival part, if you see crafting as a part of the survival genre, then that's also a big part of it. It's a good motivator to have a harsh environment and to give the player a way to feel safer in that harsher environment by needing warm clothes and cooking. So we reward the player with new resources. There is NPCs living around, so if you go outside here and go to the west, you will meet one of the NPCs, a hedgehog. So they will tell you stories, and they will have a quest line with some rewards. And then, yeah, so exploration will also reveal different areas. Each area has different resources, different creatures, and hopefully also once in a while you find a little like surprise, a little hidden thing, like a special thing. But it's of course expensive to do unique content. But we try to do stuff that if you explore all of the map, you will be rewarded by finding something that feels special to you.
And kind of, you also, I guess it's personally rewarding because you put so much work in the creative direction of the game, right? So having the opportunity and to the lore, right? And so having then the chance to kind of use this work you did before on the lore
Yeah.
and reward the players with that, I think it's probably very personally rewarding.
Yeah.
What other aspects of development have you found to be particularly rewarding for you? Any new stuff you have never done before, or something like that?
It's the researching of nature, because I'm so inspired by nature. I like nature very much, and I think nature is super fascinating, and it inspires me to a lot of like how I work with games. So a lot of the things in this game is inspired by actual stuff from a Nordic forest setting. So I spend a lot of time to make sure that what kind of food items does mice eat, and then put them into the game. And I research a lot to choose, like the mouse we are playing is a birch mouse, because it's an omnivore, so it eats both meat and plants. So I thought that made sense for the first character. But it would be great at some point to add a mouse that is only a carnivore, or only a plant eater, because there's also mice who live like that. And we have an area where it's a pine forest, so I made sure to figure out if the mushrooms we have there need to be mushrooms that would grow in a pine forest naturally. So I enjoy very much doing this research, and sometimes it also becomes like where I have to stop myself. I recently discovered a material called amadou, which is from the hard mushrooms or fungus that grow on trees. You
Yes.
can cut out the fruit body of that and make something that's almost like leather. And I was sitting and watching bushcraft videos on YouTube about amadou and seeing people kind of like cut it out and make it. You can also use it as tinder to start a fire. So I really wanted to bring this into the game because I felt it was so close to nature. It has been used for thousands of years. Like they found this guy frozen in the mountains. I think he's called Ötzi, like an old. He had
Human.
that. Old human, prehistoric human, and he had that on him. Like, and it was used for tinder. This mushroom. So it's also interesting to imagine this person who has been sitting thousands of years ago with a stone knife and cutting these mushrooms to make it into tinder, because you could carry it as a kind of like a small what do you call it, kindle for weeks in a mushroom like that. Yeah, so that's stuff I enjoy researching, but I try to keep it. I can see you have found some friends.
Yes, absolutely.
But did you find the hedgehog?
I guess I found someone, but I was like, I'm kind of starting to freeze, so I would maybe tackle
Yeah.
this in a little bit, but I will surely go down there afterwards.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, when you're kind of, what is creative direction, right? It depends completely on the type of game you're making. If you're making something about survival, right, you're gonna learn a lot about survival, and I guess that part is very interesting, actually.
Yeah.
That you kind of almost become this connoisseur of something just because you're making a game about a mouse and you want to understand how the mouse survives. That's always funny, of course.
Yeah, it is interesting, and but there's still this layer of interpretation. Like you cannot make a copy of nature or reality one to one. Like you have to interpret and to make decisions where you go in a different direction than what would be natural. Because in the end, for me, the most important thing is that the game is fun. So there's a lot of stuff where I just have to say, okay, like the first thing is like a mouse like this would be hibernating at winter. The insects would be most of the insects. There's very few insects who live in at winter time. There's something called a snow flea or something that is actually living at winter time or active. But most creatures go into some kind of partial or full hibernation.
Nice. Yeah, so this kind of stuff is probably quite interesting to delve into. And I guess it also helps to ground the game still, because, of course, as you mentioned, it's a game. It needs to still be quote-unquote fun, whatever that means. It really does help at least give the world a sense of like, it makes sense, right? This stuff is not just appearing out of nowhere. There's some kind of reality to this, and it quite helps the design, I think.
It's good to hear. We hope that it brings some kind of reality and trueness to the game.
And what else do we have? Some nice snowshoes. And for that, we need a lot of grass, kind of. And okay, grass. Okay, awesome. Okay, good. So let's just probably finish up with the shoes. Get myself a nice meal, and then we can go and check out the guy who was there before.
Yeah.
One question actually: does the grass, for example, do the resources respawn, or?
Right now, some of them respawn pretty quickly, and some a little slower. We haven't really balanced the respawning yet, because a reason to move further away from the Burrow would also be if the resources don't respawn that fast. But right now it's also a demo. We want it to be easy for you to seeing the first parts of the game. We try to avoid grinding, and it's a balance about how many resources do you need to do something and how long does it take to collect them. Because it is, of course, fun the first time you run somewhere and find resources, but the second, third, fourth time, then it gets tedious. So we also try to find a good balance where we don't need 30 grass things to do something. Maybe you actually need a lot of grass, but try to find a good balance.
When you kind of build these clothes, I see that they're like actually unique pieces of gear, so they have their own look.
Yeah.
As you mentioned before, that's still quite a lot of work, right? So did you want to actually make all of the gear pieces visually distinct? Was that a goal for you for the game?
Yeah, I think it's good to see it different, and that's also a reward for knitting it and equipping it, that you actually can see on your mouse that something changes.
Absolutely, I think most players appreciate always this kind of glamour, as they say, even in games such as Dark Souls or other
Yeah.
games. There are always these people who are like, I don't need stats, just give me the nice looking piece of equipment.
yeah. It tells a story about how important self-expression is, and that's also something we want to give the player in this game. So we want to make more clothing items when we are further with the development, so you can actually dress the mouse in a way you think looks cool, like to fit your idea of what a mouse in a frozen wilderness should look like.
Seems like I should be almost good. Gotta check what the breach basically requires.
You have rope and wood planks, so a lot of logs and even more grass fiber.
I think I have the wood plants. Oh yeah, I just need the twine now. Nice. Quite good. So luckily we have it right here. So it actually makes it quite easy. But yeah, it's quite relaxing. I saw already that there was some enemies back there, so we do have some aggro, let's say, enemies who
we have
both
qualms. Yeah, we have both versions. So we have the small ones, which is close to your home, which are just kind of like walking around doing their own thing. They won't attack you. And then we want at some point to have some creatures that attack you if you attack them. And then we want to have creatures that will attack you on sight. So there will be different creatures, but the more aggressive they are, the further away they are. Like you will meet them later in the game, and you will be warned like how you enter the dark forest or something, and then this is where the hostile creatures are. So if you want to, like some players would love to go into there, some will be a bit reluctant, but will like the excitement, and some people will be like, no way, I'll go to the merchant and buy the whatever resource that creature drops.
But do you intend to make combat like, let's say, a part of the game, like a big part, or is it just like a, say, you can do it, but
it's more something you can do, and to have the creatures to make the world living, and the creature is actually a food source because the mice are eating them. So you can make beetle pies if you want to. But it will be like there will be no special weapons. You'll use your bushcraft tools to fight them. So your axe or a pickaxe or whatever.
nice. So here we have the actual camp that we were talking about, right?
Yeah. So if you have these resources, you can build a camp and stay warm there, but you cannot sleep there.
I guess the camp is also temporary, no?
Yeah, it is. No, I think actually right now when you have built them, they will actually exist forever.
because it's the demo also, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and we do a lot of things in a way where it's pretty light. Like when you have lit the fire in the burrow the first time, it'll burn forever because we were thinking about having firewood like it for a long while. I was like, we need firewood, and you need to go out and collect firewood all the time. But then we were like, is it fun to collect firewood all the
Yeah.
time? So we're kind of like,
Understand.
we'll take it out, and then if we miss it, we can we can add it again, and we didn't add it again because it's nice that it's just warm and it works when you get home, and so right now the campfires are also just when you have made them there, they'll be keep burning.
Yeah. I mean, you can actually, yeah, you can actually, if you make that into a mechanic itself, right? That once you go far away, you build this camp, and then what you can do is travel between camps, right? And go farther
Yeah,
and farther. So I think,
yeah,
yeah, mechanic. That's one of the beauties of games is that what is or isn't fun, what works or doesn't work, is not really. Some stuff is, of course, okay. This is has been tested, has been done. We know this works, but a lot of different things can work for a game and not work for another. So that's also kind of the, I think, the beauty of games, that you can play with it and do what
yeah,
you actually want to do with the game.
yeah, yeah. There's definitely some rules you have to follow, but there's also sometimes like the way to do things is something that you have to put them in there and try to play them and have other people playing them to see how does it work. Like does it work after the intention?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I guess that's
So
what makes it interesting.
right now there's been no like plans or discussion about the future of the game, right? So do you have any idea when you are planning maybe to release, or is that still something that you will have to figure out as development goes forward, and you can then announce more comfortably the next steps
Yeah,
in the project?
we plan to release it next year, but we don't have a date yet.
Yeah, that's already great news, actually. So that you have some intended, let's say, release milestone plan.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can finally fix this bridge
Oh.
and get to meet our aunt and ask her why the hell is our house completely destroyed. Yeah, there she is. Could that really be nice? So this is when you go back home to your grandma or something, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
haven't seen her in such a long time, and look at you,
yeah,
so thin but so tall. That's so nice.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, I can't even remember if this demo ends when you have talked to the aunt, or if
I
it
think
was
probably.
our showcase demo ends when you rebuild the bridge. But you might
Ah,
be
cool.
able to keep playing afterwards. She'll give you the key for the basement, so you can
Oh, nice.
unlock that one. So the burrow has several rooms beside the main room that you can unlock. Okay, it's
Let's see.
ended there.
Here it is. Very good. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I think that was actually good. We actually ended almost on time.
perfect.
Um, do you, Benjamin, have any message you actually want to share, either about the game, about yourself, about some call to action for our audience that you would like to pass? I think this is the best chance that you have to say what you want to say about your game, actually. So the floor is yours.
Well,
Take whatever time you need.
thank you. Well, besides of go wishlist the game, I would say like what is important to us because we have this love for nature is to remember to take care of nature, preserve nature, do what you can to be active in initiatives that creates more nature habitats for animals. There's a lot of habitats that are not there anymore. The birch mouse, which is the mouse that you play in Winterboro, is a very endangered species in Denmark because the places it lives are gone. So yes, that's something that's important to us. Yeah. So besides that, be nice to each other.
I think that's great. Actually, we're ending in a with a nice message, and definitely keep an eye out for Winterboro. From the what we could showcase today, I feel like it's really, as you, I got to discover more because as I was playing the demo myself alone, right? I did not know, for example, okay, we have all this lore, we are building this with the intention of showcasing nature. It's very much focused on the nature itself, on the lack of human intervention. So I'm looking forward actually to find out how this develops further in the game, and I highly recommend people to go to their Steam page and actually wishlist, because then you can get all the news, all the updates, and be aware of when this is coming out, if there's another demo. So please go to the Steam page for Winter Burrow and wishlist it. Benjamin, thank you once again for taking the time to answer all of our questions. It was great having you here. And
Thank you
for
for having
everyone in
me.
the audience, yes, absolutely. I hope you come in the next years also. Let's see. Um, for everyone at home, stick to the stream, because we're going to keep having more sessions this afternoon. And next up is Cataclysmo, which I will also be playing. Thank you very much, guys. See you soon.